Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 475, and today we're doing battle with Champion Strength Janna. And so all throughout the Fates Voyage Onward, I've been trying to get these Janna Elusives decks to work. I've tried it with Bilgewater and Vikrosh and Fizz, didn't like it. I've tried it with Noxus, with Rummages and Visions to boost all of our Elusives with, didn't like it. I've tried it with Mount Targon and the hand buff style of strategy. It's just way too expensive to function with Janna. I wasn't able to get any of these decks to work, and I just kind of put it on the shelf for a little bit. But I've wanted to kind of circle back to this as I feel like we've kind of cracked the code in the way to get this deck to work. And so it takes a little bit of reimagining of how we want these Elusives decks to work. If you really stop and think for a moment as to how Elusives decks typically work, it's very often a curve style deck, right? You'll play an Acorn on turn 1, you'll play a Sting Officer on turn 2, maybe on turn 3 you play another Sting Officer and a Daring Poro. It's very curve centric and non-interactive, but that's not the way that these Janna games typically want to sequence out, right? With Janna, you might play a unit on turn 1, you might play a Mystic Shot on turn 2, turn 3, you typically don't want to play anything whatsoever. And then as you roll into turn 4, you could put your Janna on the board, maybe protect her with some of that leftover spell mana, and then on turn 5, you just spew off a bunch of Windborn Mariners and Exalted Cloudwinders and some card draw and stuff and really go off to the races. And so those two style of game plans are quite different, right? The curve-based strategy of the Elusives decks of old, and this Janna kind of really high-powered stuff on turn 5, turn 6 of the game don't really mesh together. But the way that I've started to kind of look at this and start thinking of this is what if we really want to just hit that power spike on turn 6 or turn 7? We can come out, maybe get a little bit of chip damage in the early game, sure, but our game plan is actually going to be getting a Janna on the board and then drawing a bunch of cards. Now we can play Acorn for free, we can play Daring Poro for free, we can play Sting Officer for 1, we can get the Windborn Mariner down for free, we can get 4 and 5 and 6 units down on the board and still just have a shitload of mana left over. And so that was kind of like the first realization that I needed to make with this deck is it's not a curve deck, right? We aren't trying to play Acorn into Sting Officer and curve up that way and then burn our opponents out. This is a very kind of high-powered mid-game style of deck that happens to have a lot of cheap plays in it. And so once I kind of made that realization, I got to thinking back to Worlds last year, Worlds at 2022. What Am I brought a triple champion strength lineup to the event, and it's a very interesting P and Z deck that he had with the champion strength. And so at kind of a glance, it just looked like a Jace Lux based deck that maybe had a couple of elusives in it, and that's to devolve the strategy, if you will. That's what it had at its core. But the big thing that it was trying to pull off there was that you're able to say play Acorn on turn 1, attack. Now your champion strength costs 7 mana, and then on turn 2, maybe you play a Poro Cannon and put 2 Poros on the board, and now that's got you to a spot to where if you bank 3 mana on turn 3. Turn 4, you can just champion strength, and now you have 15 power of elusives on the board ready to come in and close out the game. And we are able to do a lot of those kind of nonsense shenanigans in this style of deck. We have Acorn to shrink the cost of champion strength, but then we also have the updraft mechanic. We can updraft away champion strength using either Mariam or using Janna, and then as we draw it later in the game, it might realistically cost 6 mana, 5 mana, as we look to cast it and combo off with all of these elusives. And so that's what I feel like we've really kind of got going with this deck, is we have that power to kind of get these elusives on the board on turn 6, turn 7, flood the board, and then come after our opponents with a big champion strength. And the other kind of like nice thing switching to this strategy is what you'll get out of a lot of games with these cards like Windborn Mariner is they just get blocked, right? It's not a fun block. You're not excited to be blocking Windborn Mariners, right? But at the end of the day, if you do have that big turn to where you start flooding the board with Windborn Mariners and Exalted Cloudwinders, they may not be able to actually punch in that damage. And so the second thing that the champion strength gives us is that ability to say, okay, I have to be able to overwhelm, elusive, or rally. If I have this 4 and 5 quick attack style unit on the board, the champion strength ties into that as well. And so I like a way a lot of this has come together. Some of the other nice functions of this deck is Octo Adventurer is quite good. If you haven't been playing with the Explorers in this format, I highly, highly recommend it. You will find an innumerable number of ways. Is that even possible? Could you get an innumerable number? Probably, probably not. But nonetheless, it's an elusive unit. The quicksand style of ability and the heal style of ability are quite good. We're seeing a lot of Jax Ornn rise up through the meta now, and being able to pick off an equipment can be quite strong as well. I've been quite happy with these. And then we also get access to Form Up, a very powerful card in this strategy. Gives us a way to protect our Jannas that you typically don't get out of these Janna Bilgewater style of decks, and then it's also good on the offense and on the defense, either boosting a elusive style of attack or protecting a unit with the bonus health. And so this is it. Good stuff. The last thing I guess I should call out before we dive in is this deck is something I'm looking to take to the open here in the upcoming days. I'll go ahead and spoiler alert everyone for the upcoming days. I'm looking to both play this Elusives Janna deck and play a Teemo deck separate from this one. If you are just out there grinding on the ladder, you can swap out these Daring Poros for Teemos. Now, I will say with that, I'm not certain if the correct number is 2 Teemo or 1 Teemo, 1 Daring Poro. You will run into spots to where you have 2 Teemos in your hand and you can't play them, and you absolutely do not want the Mushroom Cloud. And so I can see an argument for 1 Teemo, 1 Daring Poro, but he can be quite strong, right? Teemo, if he comes down on turn 1, is probably going to be guaranteed to get you at least 2 Puff Cap damage in for the rest of the game. Very relevant. Teemo is better than Daring Poro, but again, I'm looking to play Teemo in a different deck. And so I'm not including the copies here. I want my testing to be kind of relevant for what we're going to see in the upcoming open. And so if you're looking to pick up this deck, again, you can put Teemo in for Daring Poro. That's why we're not playing it here. But now we can say it. That's what we're doing battle with today. And you all know what we got to do. We got to come out here and pay that pay-to-win price. And, you know, it's always a bit of a bummer as the units have already been taken. I feel kind of bad when we have to come out and level up our spells, because nobody really gets to enjoy them, right? If we're out here bursting Eye of the Storms on the board, the opponent may not even know that it's premium, but we'll know it's premium. The Eye of the Storm will know it's premium. That's all it takes sometimes, and so I hope it's feeling good out here, and let's jump on in. And so, yeah, this has been interesting. I have found a lot of power in this deck. I feel like my first 15 games or so with this went quite poorly. It took me quite a while to really get in the flow of playing Janna style cards, and then once I kind of figured out the way it was working, I've really kind of gotten more in tune with what's happening here. We're still going to mess up with a lot of stuff. This has been one of the more challenging decks I've done battle with here in recent days, but it's still quite good. And so with these starts, I'll always keep Windborne Mariners. This is our biggest high-powered play on turn 4. So, but I don't really want Mystic shots against Jarvan Gnar, and we'll hang on to the Sting Officer to make sure we have an early play here. This isn't a super ideal Sting Officer since we're on the odd attacks, but we'll take it for what we can do. So reasonable enough to start here on curve. The way I typically look at these games to go is if we have some 1s and 2s, we'll spend the first couple of turns dropping them on the board, but it's not incredibly important, right? We're not trying to come out here and just be this really aggressively oriented deck. Very frequently, we're going to go into turn 3 and just bank all of the mana on turn 3, so on turn 4 we can do stuff like play Formula and start smashing out these Windborne Mariners. And so we'll see how this game sequences. As it stands right now, we don't have a super powerful turn 4 with just the Formula, but I can definitely be convinced that since we don't have any of the other cost reduction units at this point, that it's probably not going to be that bad on turn 4 to say Formula, get the free Mariner, drop the Divine Whirlwind onto the Broadwing, and then potentially find some exciting stuff for a follow-up turn there. And so let's just go ahead and get to Kraken. Our hand doesn't really do anything else anyways, so always a valid reason to just get the cards on board, right? It's like, yeah, our hand just doesn't do anything anyways. Let's slap it down. All right, so I think we can just let the turn go for the moment. Like, he's most assuredly going to attack here, but if he for whatever reason wants to just send it back to us, I'll be completely fine with that. Interesting, he hooks the Mariam and leaves our Daring Poro at home. That makes a little more sense there. Oh. Surprising. Well, I think we probably still want to... do we want to take this? The interesting thing here we kind of have is we can block the Innovative Blacksmith, Divine Whirlwind, the Fleet Feather Tracker, and then still have strong attacks with the Windborne Mariner. Again, it's kind of okay to just give up on this Daring Poro. We cycled away our Champion's Strength, and so we're kind of far away from actually building it up. I think I like this. Still have fairly strong attacks on our next attack token. I guess the kind of downside to taking this angle is he does have the double Innovative Blacksmith on board, and so he doesn't have to worry, you know, nearly as much about the damages we're bringing on board here. But we did just pick up our Champion's Strength. I'm on board with it. Let's start off with the Sting Officer. If he hits, there are some decent targets on board, like this Petricite Broadwing to potentially ace. Looking a little scarier now. Definitely want the Quicksand. Thought you were going to get to attack Windborne Mariner, but opponent had different ideas. Zinged him. Cool, he doesn't go after our elusives. We definitely have the potential for lethal on this next turn. The big thing is going to be we need to get out of this turn with 1 spell mana left over. But, I mean, as it stands, we could, let's say, just block and then play... Well, this is actually the block, right? And then if we need, like, we can prevent enough damage to not die, keep our elusive. We still have a removal spell if we have to. And then we can try Champion Strength next turn. I think I'm on board with that. The thing I'm worried about now is we did just slap the unit on board. I feel like probably should have Explorers blundered the Glacial Saurion so that we don't die to Cataclysm. Now, I'm a little less convinced given that he didn't play any cards to go along with it, but I think it's we'll just let it go. We're gonna get Cataclysmed out of this game. Okay, I guess he doesn't have it. It's just yeah, I'm doing it. I'm bringing it now. Okay, I feel safer. I don't know how much safer you feel, but I definitely feel safer. But all right, this is the big thing right here with the Champion Strength decks, right? In the sense that these Jarvan Gnar decks, you know, want to pop off on turn 8 with Warden of the Tribes, and if we're able to get a shutdown on turn 7, then you know we should come out and win the game. And so having our unit get walloped is kind of whatever. We're either going to win the game on this turn or it's all going to be done. And so we should still be able to Champion Strength. Opponent only has 1 mana. We're about to snatch the victory. GG. Get that, see? It just takes 2. You just need the 2 elusives to get the job done. It says OF. Bust coming at me with the elusives. Rip it. GG. All right. Not bad, not bad. Champion Strength. That's what it's all about, huh? But still, I feel like I don't know. We probably got a little sloppy there in the middle. Like it was tough. We had the champion strength turn up at a timely moment. We like if we'd already had it in hand, I would have felt a little bit more comfortable letting our quick attack unit just fall and actually protecting the daring Poro. There's a realistic chance that's the angle we should have just taken anyways. But misplays aside, sometimes you just get elusives on the board and attack your opponent for like 18 elusive. Feels good. Feels good. All right. Opponent running it back. Let's see what we got here. Again, I like to hang on to these. LOL. I'm counting that. I'm counting that as a victory. GG. Yeah, just getting the rage quit. Feels good. Feels good. Queuing into bust, playing the Janna elusive, saying no thank you. Just ruining days out here. Oh man, that was nice. My day's been made. I don't need anything else to go on. We probably need like some kind of weird Valley of Imitation thing to pop up and piss me off, so that we can have a little bit of yin to the yang in terms of the quality of our video here. All right, up against Aatrox Kayn. See what we can do here. And so again, we're not playing that really aggressive early game style of stuff. We don't need to hang on to this daring Poro. I'm fine to just kick it off with these two Mariams here, cycle around a bit in the early game, see if we can't find a Janna along the way. Get Sting Officer down though. All right. Aggro time, my friend. I smell a rat. So again, this is another one of these spots to where our Octo Adventurer Explorer can be quite relevant, right? Opponent has this dude that likes to pick up lifesteal. We can kind of answer that for a couple of turns. He's playing Aatrox, and so I saw the double spark, and I thought we were gonna immediately just spike one of these guys. But being able to blow up these equipment can be quite good. We have a lot of really strong targets out here, and so it's a very, very powerful card. But as far as our hand goes here, I think we just want to send away the Daring Poro. I'm not really interested in getting it on board. Mystic Shot's kind of weak here, but I think I've played this guy a few times, and he does play the elusive cultist, and so I kind of want to hang on to it just a little bit.
I'm here in Janna's name.
All right, now that we have champion strength, we know that we can kind of build up to these big elusives boards. Aatrox Kayn isn't particularly strong at interacting. Kayn is the kind of major way that they do it, in the sense that he has challenger and stuff. So we'll see how that comes about. Ooh, Acorn turning up. So here, I don't think I'm quite worried about the destroying equipments. I'm a little bit more interested in picking up whatever this thing is called, the quicksand, and being able to quicksand down a Kayn, so he can't come after our elusives directly. Now we are in this spot. If opponent taps too low next turn, we can just kill him, right? We have the 7 mana champion strength. We have 7 mana. We just picked up a fucking free Daring Poro. Ooh. Feels good, friends. It feels good. Let's see if we can't just develop that big OTK here. I mean, it should be tough for him. Like, even if he has a cultist flash freeze to stop 2, we're going to be hitting for 10 damage, and then next turn we can roll back in for about 4 more. And so that gets us, just really close to ending the game. Send it. Right, so if we only get to hit with Acorn and the Daring Poro, that's 10 damage. We can open next turn for another like 4 or 5, whatever that is. We have the 2 damage of burn from the Eye of the Storm, and then we have Mystic Shot in hand as well. So, gets us close. Another Mystic Shot. So I'm going to put the stats onto our Octo Adventurer. If he comes at us with a the Strike card, I want it to not kill the unit that's getting this attack in. I think we'll hold off on the Sting Officer, though. I got him to 1. And Aatrox comes in. That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit, Aatrox. So the thing you have to watch out with Aatrox in this spot is if he has another copy of him in hand, or if he has one of his dumb strike cards, then he can come in and get the kill. So we definitely need to be putting a block forward. This is pretty close to not dying, though, and we did pick up a second champion strength, and so let's just stop here. If he tries to get clever with knocking down our cards from hand, then we can still try and come at this later. But this should be a tough champion strength to deal with. Excellent. GG. So what I was trying to get at there at the end is it's very dangerous to be counting on those 2 Mystic Shots to end the game. If we go Mystic Shot, an opponent has the Cultist Strike card, or if they have a second Aatrox in hand for the Aatrox Strike to gain 2 health, then we wouldn't have had lethal. And so definitely needed to be getting a little bit involved with the combat there. But whew, good stuff. Victory unlocked. Feels good, my dudes. Feels good. Dude named Yumi not playing Yumi. What's the deal with that? Alright. Much like these other games, we'll hang on to the Acorn. We'll hang on to the Mariner. Now, this is kind of a tempting spot to maybe hold on to Formula. We can look to, say, play the Formula on turn 3 and then get to still play the Mariner for free. I'm kind of on board with it. It's like if we had a second Mariner, I would just 100% be on board with it, but let's just put the tip in, see how it feels. Drawing the second formula is a little awkward. Blocking Badger Bear. That's not fun for anybody. Why you gotta be putting guys like that on the board? Alright, we'll take the Quicksand. So that's certainly going to hamper our progression here just a little bit. Need to find some combat readiness here. Finding another Windborn Mariner is quite strong. Alright. Let's get to battle.
Which way to spiritual fulfillment?
Did you find the pot of pain? Did not.
Fresh start. Just looking for a sign.
So I think we want to swing with everybody, right? That blocking Badger Bear is getting more and more annoying, but we can't get the equipment down now, but I think this is okay. We'll still swing. Interesting, he's not blocking Acorn. Okay. Seems legit. Alright, Mariam coming in. I'm on board. We're probably not going to get too much damage done the rest of the game on the ground. So we'll have to see how this comes together. Let's cycle away one of these Eye of the Storms.
Always got what I wanted. Now I gotta find
There's the girl.
Perhaps the answer lies in others, not yourself. Not another step.
Alright, still have a pretty good attack next turn. The We can add both Janna and Eye of the Storm, however we want to go about it in terms of attacking through this blocking Badger Bear. And there's the money shot, right? I don't think we want to end up champion strengthing this turn, but not opposed to it. The big thing here is his blocks on the Mariner suck, and so we have that chance to get, you know, a double bonus out of this Acorn, if you will. Let's go the cheap route. I want to play Janna, but I also want to have all the mana banked up next turn for champion strength. And so let's go with the cheaper spell so that we can play Janna and then take a 3 bank into next turn. All right, whatever. Not a bad champion strength right here. I'm not going to go for it, but you can see some of these spots to where it turns out to be a little bonkers, right? If we'd gotten more clear, like if that combat trick had taken the Badger Bear off the board and he only has 1 unit, like you're getting ready to pop at that point. Now I'm kind of curious if we want to just get rid of this formula. I don't think we're going to be using it. Hang on to the Eye of the Storm just as a tool to punch in a little bit more combat damage. So we'll see. I mean, this is what it would typically be a Jarvan turn, and it's not that big of a deal, right? If he Jarvans down our Windborn Mariner, we're a little bit more interested in just killing with elusives at this point. So how big is this guy? A 7-3? Like, we're just so close to lethal if we try and kill him with Janna. Right, it's... His high attack is a real problem here in the sense that if we champion strength, he's still strong enough to kill our units that we have on board.
My wind is at your back. Go! You shall not assail them.
Okay. Very close to the Letho now with double Mystic Shot, right? We got 10 damage from the 2 elusives on board, 4 more burn in hand. We should get to open attack next turn. If he plays Warden of the Tribes, we'll just say LOL, nice card. And see where we can go from there. Oh, he's got another combat trick? That's a little more problematic. Okay. The bear has fallen. Now, worth noting, this champion strength cost -1 because of Acorn. Our other champion strength here cost -1 because of Janna. So it's going to go back up in cost. Interesting, he picked the weaker unit to try and take down here. So we can still get out of this. If we pick up a cheaper play, we'll be kind of off to the races. And wow, just champion strength was just like the actual worst draw we could have had. I was looking at this spot as being like, well, we can attack with Acorn, and then that'll make this champion strength cost 6, and then we could maybe push something forward from there, but that's not going to work. We're going to have to top deck out of this. Well, if his play here is Warden of the Tribes, we can just outright win. It's a little scary at this point trying to go the burn path since he has Innovative Blacksmith on board to gain a point of health. Sure. God, that's so dangerous. Okay. But, I mean, we're starting to kind of flounder here a little bit, but I think the important thing to note is he should have a tough time killing us next turn. I guess he can... How's this going to go? Like, if we say that he plays Warden of the Tribes... we're probably just dead at that point. I think we need to take this path. We can get in for 3 with Acorn. We might find something. I was like kind of interested in playing the Cloudwinder and seeing what we draw next turn, but with opponent having so much mana here, he's going to have a real chance to play a unit that's just bigger than our 3/1 quick attacker, right? You see the blacksmith, you see the Jarvan. It's just not quite enough. We're dead now, right? We can't take the full hit from the Warden. Alright, GG. Oof, that's tough. That's a close one. Right there on the edge. That was a tough Badger Bear to deal with. Like, there is an argument. Like, the thing we could have done wrong that game was we should have just taken the blow up and equipment thing, right? You do run into a lot of innovative blacksmiths and darkened equipments in that spot. I typically lean towards just taking the quicksand because it can be so important to just stop that overwhelm, right? If we look at that last turn of the game there, if we're able to play the quicksand onto the Warden of the Tribes and then put another unit on board, we can block 3 of his units and then we only take like 8 and don't die. And so I usually lean towards picking up the quicksand, even though it's not 100% useful all the time. But that was definitely one of those games where taking a destroying equipment could have been quite good. Now here we're landing in the space of matchups that can go quite bad. All of the Janna matchups aren't particularly good for us. They do, you know, a lot of the same stuff that we do, but they tend to just do it better, right? If we're going to run into a spot here to where, you know, he plays Nilah and then slipstreams and then he's able to drop a bunch of cheap units on the board, they can just do like the cheap unit thing much faster, and they tend to have a little bit better interactivity, but it's certainly it's still a winnable matchup. All right. Going fine enough. I think we'll take the bank out of here. We'll play Janna on the next turn. Again, we're getting really close to just having this champion strength kill already, right? I mean, we've got our opponent down to 16. If we get to connect with both of these units with the champion strength, we're right on board. And that was a 5 mana win, right? Oh, that was the slow spell. All these cards look the same. Okay, gotcha. I kept like eyeballing his mana, and I was like, "You did something wrong there, right?" So I feel like you paid the wrong amount for something.
Fill your lungs and cry, Janna.
Trick shot.
It's an aggressive attack. Okay. So just take it. We have the initiative here if we get to pick up some of the cheap free units. No Mariners up to this point. Kind of a bummer. So I think what we'll end up looking to do here is I do want to play Eye of the Storm. See if we can't just churn through and pick up a Mariner or pick up a card draw bird. And then we still have a pretty decent hand. I mean, we can get involved into a combat quite well with the 4-up Mystic Shot, but it's not super high-powered. I guess the other thing to kind of take note of here is we can do this thing to where we put 4-up onto Acorn or put it onto Sting Officer attack, and then the Acorn hit, giving us the cheaper champion strength. I don't think we need to go that aggressive, though. Like, we can wait and see if he plays a burn spell here. Right now we can 4-up our Sting Officer, get through that, and then we have access to the champion strength still. Should just be enough to end the game, right? He's just gonna play something irrelevant and we're gonna say, boom. I guess the Windmore Mariner is not quite irrelevant, but
Catch me, right?
We'll bring in the heat. We'll bring in the sauce. Bring in the thunder. All right, Divine Whirlwind. Fine, dude. But this will take him down to 6. Gonna remove a Pull Shark. Getting close to the lethal.
Always got what I wanted. Now I gotta find what I need.
Perhaps the answer lies in others, not yourself.
Where you going?
Was that turn too aggressive?
Get to work.
I don't know. He has a tough time killing us from here. He needs 2 attacks to actually come in and kill us.
I cast thee out.
I cast thee out.
You shall not assail them.
So where are we at? I feel good with this. We probably do need to block with Janna.
My tempest shields us.
The question, I guess, is do we want to block with Acorn? Because what I'm leaning towards here
Cast aside
is
fear.
we can boost our Janna, and then we can put our Janna in front of his Janna, and then put Acorn in front of this other unit. Like, now I just think if this game drags on, we're going to be in pretty tip-top shape. Like, his Janna's going to be gone. He really needs another removal spell for our Janna. And then hopefully we just have the initiative next turn. Oh, man, I saw you see that flashbang trap come in, and you're like, oh, snap, shit's about to get real on you. Ugh. Now, another thing to kind of watch out for in these later stages of the game is Mariam can be quite useful in terms of generating spell mana, right? So we're not quite at the spot right now to where, we have a hand, but you'll see a lot of these games where you do have 6 or 7 mana in the late game, and then you're just like, oh yeah, I want to drop a lot of these cards on the cheap. But this hand is not coming together. We're going to have to Mariam into Mariam. We'll send away whatever we draw, so now we get the cheaper version of the Cloudbird. And maybe that was too aggressive on that last turn. Giving up our Janna like that. Like, I usually feel fairly safe against these decks if we're at like 7. And so that's tough. Feels like we still have the advantage, though. I wonder what he draws on that last turn but doesn't play. It's interesting.
I'm here in Janna's name.
There we go. I'm not excited about that play either. We gotta find something to get excited about, right? But
Away with you. Not another step. Away with you.
can we just draw our way out of this? Like, we're gonna play Janna again next turn. I think we can fall to 7. Just so easy to pop off if we get even just like the smallest good draw.
May your blessings upon me ease the pain of others.
Feel the breeze and know you have my favor.
Alright, feel the breeze, my friend.
The Zephyr heralds
Mariner, Whirlwind, and a draw 2, right? Ooh, that was interesting. He hit the flashbang, it hit the middle unit, and then Nilah flipped. Could have been a problem if the damage landed in the wrong way there.
Do the kids still dune surf back in Shurima?
Wait, you? Oh, I love
Alright, well,
that.
he picked up a million cards, but we have a very strong combat at this point.
Do the kids still dune surf back in Shurima?
Wait, you? Oh, I love that for you.
Oh boy, he definitely picked up a million cards. Let's see how close we can get. Curious if we're going to find ourselves having to block next turn. Like, I don't know. He falls to 4. He has to play a unit or he's just straight up dead. 5 damage onto Janna. She's already done her work. Right, so we make this attack. He has to block 2 at this point, right? And then just 1 Mariner can get through. We don't gain anything by attacking with Mariam at this point. He can just block with his own Mariam and he's in the same spot. So let's just take our quick attacks.
Not another step.
Alright, he gives up his whole board.
Hey, which way to spiritual fulfillment?
Seems like we're in an advantage. I don't know. I'll never call these games over till they're over. So easy for these decks to just draw a million cards and surprise you out of nowhere.
Now our celebration can truly begin.
Alright, Champions Strength. Do we want to lead off with our Janna, though? Probably do.
May your blessings upon me ease the pain of others.
Feel the breeze and know you have.
Oh, that's scary. I guess he could have done the same thing. Oh my god, are we dead? I certainly haven't tracked how many burn spells he's played up to this point. My thought with playing the Janna is he gets to this point to where... Oh, Jesus fuck. God damn it. We're probably still dead even though... Like, my thought with playing the Janna there is we need this champion strength to be somewhat successful to win the game. And so the thing that's going to be kind of disastrous is if we play the champion strength, he plays a burn spell on one of our units, and then he plays another unit. Now he's able to block all of our units across the board and not die. Now, the thing that you run into at the spot on the next turn is that by adding the Janna, it makes it just a little bit more challenging to do. But you do run into nonsense like we just saw there. And so I can see an argument for dropping the champion strength immediately instead of just letting the Janna go. But the thing that is kind of interesting in that space and why we probably should have just gone ahead and dropped it is the sense that the next turn rolls up, right? Like on that active turn, so let's say he plays Vikrash, he plays double Eye of the Storm and attacks, then he's just dead. And so he probably has to play the other Vikrash just to not come in and die. Or he has to be in the spot to where he's like, okay, well, I'm going to attack for 6 and hope I have enough burn spells in hand to finish it off. And so, like, there's no guarantee that we would have won that game. But I think the line of thought I had was, sound for that immediate situation. But I needed to add in that next step to where we're like, oh yeah, you can still just attack next turn and probably finish it off. And so as long as we were able to get the attack in that turn and not die, I think everything would have been fine. And so, yeah, adding in that Janna was probably not ideal. But GG. It's so wild with these decks though, man. Like out of nowhere. It's like opponent has 1 card in hand and then they play a Slipstream into a bird into a draw 2 and then the next turn they play another bird into a double draw 2. Like, it's just so obnoxious how many cards all of these decks are able to draw. So, you're never out of it. You're never out of it. All right, next battle, though, up against Aatrox Vayne again. And so, again, like, I kind of like... Oh, this is Aatrox Vayne, not Kayn. I kind of like hanging on to the Octo Adventurer. And so... The downside to keeping the Adventurer is we don't have a lot of pop-off potential with the Windborn Mariner, right? So maybe we do... Let's just do this. Let's just hang on to the Mariner. We'll find some other stuff along the way. Daring Poro's where it's at. Daring Poro is always the answer, am I right? But no, if you stop and look at that hand... what do we really want it to do? We're going to play a Sting Officer into an Octo Adventurer. If that's the hand you really want to have going on, then you don't want the Windborn Mariner in your hand. And I think the Mariner is just, the highest power thing that we could be out here doing. And we certainly want to hang on to that.
I'm here.
So let's just build up into Janna here. I'll block if he brings it. I want to be able to as safely get this Janna on the board as we can. And Mariam's not really doing anything in this match.
Away with you.
That's kind of a bummer of an Acorn when you don't have any spells in hand. I kind of want to bank out the mana here, but without any spells, it just doesn't seem super worthwhile. So I'm gonna go Adventure. I'm leaning towards the Explorer's Quicksand in the sense that the biggest play opponent can do is going to be dropping a Cultist. But I guess the Cultist isn't that scary if we destroy the equipment, but I think we want the Quicksand.
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men.
Like the thing that opponent can do that scares me just really involves challengers. And I think that having the Quicksand to stop those style of things is where we want to be. Very strong with the second Mariner.
Swift death.
Right. Well, this is a turn where it kind of sucks if he passes, but I don't know how he plans on winning the game if he does. So hang on to there. Get rid of these two cheap cards. See what the Mariners can do next turn. Gonna lose one fighting into Vayne, but that's okay. All right, free Acorn and Janna. Mariner number 3. Cool. let's just get out here and do some dumb stuff, huh?
To move our world.
Leap of faith, huh? You'll catch me, right?
So we gotta feel pretty safe. The scariest thing he can be doing here is dropping the Scout Cultist and tumbling it. We'll have some blockers for it, but I guess the big thing with it's not going to be able to just outright kill us here. And so it's like if he has the Cultist with...
Wind need not be seen to move our
if he has the Cultist with the quick attack equipment, that kind of sucks. But all in all, this feels pretty safe. Gonna follow up with Acorn now. We'll attack with everybody that isn't Janna. I'll assume somebody's gonna die in combat here, and then we'll play the Cloudwinder.
Guess we're doing this the ugly way.
Death it is.
I mean, we can just go ahead and flip the Janna. That's kind of a obnoxious spot to be in. So here, like, I imagine that if this game just lasts a little longer, we're gonna be completely fine. And so I'm looking to definitely block. The question is, do we want to like Eye of the Storm something beforehand? Probably not.
Thought there was more.
Here, let's do this. We'll play the Cloudwinder. I guess our Janna does die to pretty much everything here, but I was wanting to have the opportunity to potentially flip our Janna. I think I'm still just going to take the draw 2. So the next version we have will be flipped. Very relevant in the sense that the future copies will now be elusive. Alright, so we didn't get the save, but we're going to get to draw an extra 3 cards next turn. Seems like we're in a decent spot. You do need to kind of watch yourselves for these Zolanis coming in with the Overwhelm, but at the moment I think we're safe.
Every last monster will be purged.
this getting old?
So this feels safe, right? If we can get the Vayne off of the board. The other kind of worry is if he does start to play Zolanis and tumble them, right? His tumbles are going to be free after this one. So this is a pretty important Vayne to be getting off of the board. But I think this is where we got to kind of stop. Definitely got a Mystic Shot. He says, uh-oh. Uh-oh, you zinged my Vayne, bust. You zinged my Vayne. It's kind of a bummer in terms of this this Mystic Shot. Again, I was pretty worried in the sense here that if he gets to put Zolani on the board and start tumbling it and stuff, the overwhelms are pretty painful. But like with that Mystic Shot, we're very close to the lethal here. And losing out on it kind of sucks.
Those who kill innocents are no more than fiends.
Alright, so we got 9 attack on board. I think we can take this one now. So he's gonna have the free tumbles again. And oh, we just hit another Eye of the Storm. Okay. Double Sting Officer, not quite who we're looking for, but I think our combat squad here might be enough. I don't think this deck, like, it can hit us with a Condemn. That would be kind of frightening. But I don't think it has like natural combat tricks to stop anything here, right? It doesn't have single combats. It's typically just like cataclysms or fish fights and not fast speed things. And so I felt like that was probably a pretty safe space. All right. Whew. Not a bad set of battles. We can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. And so I feel like we got to hit, you know, a lot of the highlights and what this deck is really capable of doing. In the first couple of games, we were able to get some of those big champion strength style blow you up out of nowhere kind of draws. And then towards the later portions of the video, we got into more of the games as to where you don't necessarily get that 15, 16 damage champion strength. You don't get that 18 damage turn to where you hit with the 3/1/1s and then you hit again for 15 damage. But then that spaces as to where, you know, you get to hit for like 5 and 6 with the elusives and then clean up with a little bit of burn. And so it's very interesting. Again, I like a lot of what's happening with this deck. I feel like a lot of the numbers in here are pretty good. It's just one that's really easy to kind of like mess up a lot along the way. I feel like if you look at our first 20 games with this deck, our win rate was probably like 40% at best. And now I feel like we're doing a pretty decent job of creeping up over the 50% mark, but still messing up a reasonable amount along the way. And so again, this is a deck I'm looking to take to the open. It is quite powerful against the Warden of the Tribes-based decks, and I like this idea of being able to play. I'm looking to play Janna, and then we're looking to play Teemo Bandle City elusives, and then the third one, I forget what it was, but it didn't involve Teemo or Janna. Oh, Ash LeBlanc is the last one I was looking to bring, and so that's why we're not playing Teemo here. You could definitely see in some of these games to where, you know, if you have a Teemo on board and he gets 5-10 puff caps in the opposing deck, he's going to be able to deal an extra 2 or 3 points of damage, that can always be extremely, extremely relevant. And so I do recommend playing Teemos if you're looking to take this deck directly on the ladder. But again, we're looking to play Teemo in a best of 3 lineup, so he's not here. The other thing is we are looking in best of 3 to just ban Janna all the time. There are some cases to where I'm willing to play games against Janna because it is still a winnable matchup, but we are an underdog to Janna basically across all of our matchups. And so not a deck I'm looking to play against, but this is still certainly something you can take to the ladder and have a lot of success with. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bustin'. We thank you for being here.